This is Amal Siddiqui, your host in a series of career talks. And the objective of this career talks series is to help my community on LinkedIn and Facebook to to learn more about about certain things that we often forget or find ourselves lost in um, uh, the scheme of things around career development. And obviously, one of the key things that we really need to understand the value of interview skills and resume. Today, I have my dear friend Doreen Fernandez joining in from GTA. I'll quickly add Doreen into that this stream, and we'll start the chat. So just give me a sec. Here you go. Hey,
Awesome.
Doreen.
Hi, Hamad. It's a pleasure to be on here this morning. Thank you so much for including me in this amazing event. I'm really happy to be here and offer some great tips to some of our viewers and participants so that they're set up for success.
Absolutely. So, Doreen and I have been working together on several initiatives around career development and coaching people how they can be successful in their interviews, because ultimately the goal for everyone who is applying for jobs is to be able to find one.
Mhm.
And often interview coaching is a missing piece, as well as, of course, resume writing, because people are from different parts of the world and different norms are followed. But the principles for a great resume stay the same. Uh, you have to be projecting yourself as someone who can solve your problem. So Doreen is amazing, and she is a great writer and an interview coach. And Doreen and I have uh, recently co-authored a book as well, which is available on separate links. So we'll talk about it later on. I'll probably share the link with everyone who is joining in
Mhm.
uh, on Facebook as well as on LinkedIn today with this live. So, Doreen, very quickly, uh, I'm sure as we will go along and we'll continue talking about it in future episodes as well. Very quickly about yourself and how did you start uh, coaching people, and what has been successful so far?
When I think back to my career, I have many years that I worked in the corporate sector in the financial services industry, and I learned so many things. And every step I took, whether it was to take the next level into the next job, looking for a job, communicating with other people. I learned from my mistakes, and that's what's made me so armed with so much information because I remembered what worked and what didn't work. And I was always happy to share that information with others, especially coworkers, family, friends. And I started to just kind of give people advice on what I have learned and what have worked for me so that they could apply the same principles. And that's what brought me to today after many years of helping people out. I wanted to share that knowledge and share that, information so that others can take it and be successful the same way.
Yeah, so I think it's all comes with experience, with knowledge, and of course, there is no stopping for any knowledge that we gain on our way towards our career growth. Often, Doreen, people who are coming out of universities or colleges at the entry level,
Mhm.
this seems to be an issue with them, because there
Mhm.
are multiple type of resumes that people can look at.
Right.
Question about having a picture there or not having a picture there, having an objective there, or you just start with something else.
Mhm.
What has been your experience as to what kind of resumes would take um, take our, like, any candidate to the next level, where the first call which we all wait for when we're applying for job is happens.
Right, right. No, that's a great question. And that's a question that a lot of people ask, about whether, they're a student just coming out of their education, looking for a job with no experience, or whether they're a new immigrant to Canada with no Canadian experience, or even if it's somebody who is in a career and looking to make a change into another type of career. Those questions are all very similar, is how do I stand out to the recruiter or the hiring manager? Um, the advice that I give people is, first of all, you have skills and you have competencies. Even if you have experience or no experience, you have to make sure that your skills stand out. Imagine the hiring manager has a job available and there are about 500 applicants for that one job. How do you make sure that your resume gets from the bottom of the pile to the top of the pile? And how do you ensure that the hiring manager, after the first 10 seconds of browsing the first few lines of your resume, wants to read more because they are intrigued as to who you are? So my advice to people always is, make sure you have a strong targeted objective or summary. Your skills are highlighted, very boldly, and also your accomplishments. So those are just some basic tips, on how to stand out in your resume just in the first 10 seconds of someone browsing it. And know who you are. And everybody has strengths, everybody has skills. So look at, internalize, really think about your skills and what you bring to the table, and look at the job description and see if there's a fit. Oftentimes people say, I'm just going to apply for every job that I see. That makes no sense at all, because first of all, you may not be qualified for it. You may be lacking, a major part of core skills that the company is looking for. So really read between the lines, look at what the employer is looking for, and see whether you have that skill and capability, and bring it out right up front.
Great suggestions, and you rightly touched upon the strengths that we all have. And when people tell me that they have no strength or no skills, I sometimes get surprised.
Hmm.
And I always try to encourage people, my clients who come to me, and a lot of them are very experienced, coming from various countries to Canada,
Hmm.
as well as whenever we coach someone who is not based in Canada but still the same situation.
Hmm.
Often, what happens, Doreen, is that we do a job, we are in a job, and we learn and we grow. But whenever we are thinking of moving from that job to another job,
Hmm.
we struggle. We struggle in finding that space that would actually take us to the next level.
Right.
So, for instance, a CFO would only think about the experience, but not really look at the skills. Um, Now, how would you think talking more or about your skills, or being able to project those skills, is more beneficial in looking for, when somebody is looking for a job, or finding that first click, in the next level, as compared to just talking about experience? How do you think that that plays a bigger role, talking about your skills and
Hmm.
knowing your strength based on your skills?
Absolutely. Every one of us come to, a job with skills and experience. Having experience is great, but you have to really pull apart from the experience the skills that you have developed. The hiring manager wants to know what you can do, and how you're going to do it. It's not just a matter of, I've done A, B, C, D, E. That's great. But what did it result in? How did you help your previous manager or your previous organization that you worked in? How did you make a difference there? And always look to how you can help this organization with what they're looking for. Um, yes, everybody wants someone very skilled in the job, but the basic core competencies that people look for are, skills that are very important to perform on the job. Anybody can learn anything. given the time and given the training and the the application of yourself, you can learn on the job, because none of us enter a job knowing everything about it. We learn on the job, we grow on the job. But coming into any job, the core and most fundamental and most important thing is for you to have the basic skills, the soft skills that will show the employer that you are capable of learning and that you are capable of succeeding and helping them out. So, basic skills that should be highlighted is your ability to communicate, your ability to solve problems, your ability to make decisions, your ability to work in a team. So, those are like fundamental things that it doesn't cost a lot of money for you to develop those skills. You can just learn how to interact with people and learn from people, and once you can prove to that employer that yes, you have those skills and you're able to perform on the job, that's half the battle.
Absolutely. And we all possess these skills. The
Yes.
Because regardless of whether we are coming out of a college or university, or we have worked somewhere, the basic skills we all gain. In a university or a college, we work together, we do projects. That's
Mm-hmm.
like working in a team.
Mm-hmm.
We try to handle situations. That's like showing your resilience, and uh, being able to understand the problems. And when we solve the problems, that's the solution that we all have. So we have all these basic skills, and we all can project. But again, the thing is that what we need to know is what are the key things that you really need to be talking about in your resume. It's not always the technical side of things that you do, but
Right.
but
Right.
but the things that would actually enable you to deliver. uh,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it's not always the technical side. So thank you very much for so many people who have joined us today, on YouTube channel, as well as on LinkedIn and Facebook. Please keep asking questions, because this is your opportunity to learn from a great interview and resume coach based in Canada, Doreen Fernandez. You can also visit her website, coachingbydoreen.ca. And if you need to hire services, you can always send her an email, through the website. We have some questions, Doreen, which we'll take now. And in the meantime, you can keep asking questions. Number one. Number two, please also share where are you joining in from, so that we know the community. And this is your opportunity. Everyone who is part of this conversation today is to network. This is whatever 20, 30, 40 people who will
Mhm.
be with us throughout this next 17 minutes, in this connect with each other. You all can connect with Doreen, and follow me and Doreen also for regular updates on various things. So you can ask questions. By the way, this session is about educating you, and the future sessions will also do the same, and will keep picking up questions, and we'll keep talking about how you can be successful in your interviews, how you can be successful in getting those interviews. Doreen will come in, some other guests will come in also. But ultimately, this conversation is not about offering a job. So we are not offering any jobs at the moment. We are offering you um, the fishing rod, so that you could actually go and fish your fish for yourself. So anybody, there are a couple of friends who are asking for jobs, and unfortunately, that's not the place to be. And moreover, I'm okay to share this one example. This gentleman is saying, "I need any job, sir." So now the thing is, there is no any job. You have to be very specific, Doreen, and this is the reason I picked this comment. Uh,
Mhm.
can you apply for any job?
No, absolutely not. And this goes back to what we talked about earlier, is you have to know your skills. Once you know your skills, which is very, very important, you have to know what you can do. and what you have been successful in doing. Then you look for those jobs that fit your abilities and your capabilities. And you said something about networking. Yes, this is an amazing platform for networking where people get to see each other, interact with each other, and know each other. But networking is really important, in your job search strategy. And I can't say enough about the proper way to network. That's something else that I can help with, is where to network, who to network with, and how to network. And I know, Hamad, that's one of your tips that you always say, is your net worth is your network. So people have to really understand that, and look for those roles that appeal to them, that inspire them, and that will help them grow.
Awesome. You touched upon an interesting topic, a topic that is really, really close to my heart: networking, and using LinkedIn for networking.
Hmm.
Uh, Ultimately, what happens? People create a profile on LinkedIn and they forget about it,
Yes.
or if they create it, they don't really create it the way they should create it. Like, some of the profiles that I see from my clients are not even complete profiles.
Hmm.
So what message are you giving to somebody who is looking at your profile is that you are not really interested.
Hmm.
Moreover, just creating a profile does not mean that LinkedIn is going to push your profile to recruiters. You have to be really proactive on your profile, and that proactive means that you have to really be, building your network, targeted network, and you should really be looking at connecting with the right people in the right community, and just simply don't ask for jobs. Like a lot of people that I get, like, I'm sure you also do, please get me a job. I mean, this is not the way to seek for a job. You have to place yourself, brand yourself in a position that whereby if there is an opportunity, people should reach out to you.
Hmm.
And LinkedIn as such, or resume, or your other platform that you can be part of, are just tools. So you need to really understand how you use these tools
Yes.
in your benefit, and of
Yes.
course invest in yourself. Like, we spend a lot of money and time and effort in getting ourselves educated,
Hmm.
but we do not spend enough time, efforts, and money to train ourselves to do certain things, and that's perhaps is a biggest missing part.
Right.
So, your coaching, of course, that's whatever time we spend with our friends and followers in on our social media, and coach them through live sessions and through our publications and stuff. They also have to spend time, money, and efforts in kind of be part of structured training programs,
Yes.
and and that actually is a great investment to make. The only greater investment you can make is in your own development. That's all I
Exactly.
always say. So we
Yes.
have some questions, Doreen, and we can take those questions and try to address those questions as much as, so basically as many questions as we can. um, um, and this is a great question by Engineer Tayeba. How much resume format is important in getting jobs? So let me just, before Doreen jumps in,
Sure.
we are not. So the first stage is to get you an interview call,
Hmm.
and then you have to perform in that interview to be
Yes.
able to get the job. So I will just simply rephrase your question, Engineer Tayaba, is how much your resume format is important in getting the interview call. Doreen, over to you.
Absolutely. I mean, the resume is your first impression on the hiring manager. If your resume is cluttered, if your resume is difficult to read, if your resume is longer than 2 pages, if your resume is very generic and has a lot of buzzwords in it, that resume is just not going to stand out to the hiring manager. So, in terms of format, yes, format is very important in your resume because you have to know how to use the real estate in that page appropriately so that it's eye catching and that the hiring manager likes what they're seeing. It has to be clear, it has to be concise, and it has to be targeted and to the point. And within the first 10 seconds, you have to make that impression on the hiring manager that they would like to bring you in for an interview. So the resume is the starting point, and then yes, you have to know exactly how to present yourself in an interview, so that the employer wants you on their team.
And I mean, the best, what I gathered from you is your resume should not be cluttered.
Right,
You should not really clutter your resume with tons of information.
right.
Um, you have to really work smartly on presenting that information that would actually attract eyeballs and would.
Mhm.
I mean, of course, a recruiter is going to be looking at hundreds of resume every day,
Right, right.
and your resume is just one of those hundreds of resumes.
Hmm, hmm.
So, how do you make it more attractive from the content side of it?
Yes,
I try to say, oh, you can present a beautiful resume, like beautifully done resume, but it does not have content in it. Then
right.
you will be stuck in wherever you are.
Hmm.
So if you really want uh, your resume to get attention, it is not the beauty of that resume, but actually the content in your resume. And
Exactly.
cluttering of information, using different fonts and using colors may not be the right way. You should really be putting out information based on what the uh,
Description.
job or needs in that jobs are. So just
Exactly.
align your resume. Don't just shoot off 50 resume every day
Mhm.
to 50 different job opportunities. That's one that's one suggestion that we would like to present to you, Dr. Engineer
Yes.
or Engineer Tayaba. So thank you very much. We have another question, and this is also an awesome question. Usman is asking, working from home is going to stay. What is your golden tip to walk in to a remote interview for a job on global perspective? Uh, would you be okay if I respond to this, because I
Yeah.
get the
Sure.
okay, so um, globally, remote jobs are becoming norm. Uh, uh, they were pretty much normal as well before pandemic, but post pandemic, a lot of jobs have become remote. Like even in Canada, where we are based, in the US, in the West, a lot of jobs are now remote jobs. Um, Now, the issue with remote jobs in certain countries, you have to be you have to have a legal status in that country so that an employer could hire you. Because, like for instance, in Canada, if an employer hires you, uh, they have to like file in with the CRA, which is the Revenue Authority, as to why they have hired someone and why are they paying someone outside Canada, for instance. So I don't want to go into too much technicalities of it, but remote jobs, yeah, if you have that excellence that you will actually beat a local candidate, and if a company is really interested in hiring a relatively cheaper resource,
Mhm.
then yes, remote jobs are available. But again, the question comes in: how would you present yourself?
Yeah. So that's something that I can kind of chime in
So
on.
please.
So that's a really good question now, because yes, you're right. During the pandemic, it's made it more, more apparent that work from home, work from anywhere, really can get the job done. Now, if you were to uh, do an interview from a remote location, all of the basic standards still apply as if you were in person. Make sure that you're dressed well, make sure that you're well groomed, make sure that you're prepared for the interview, make sure that you're prepared to answer the questions, and do all of those basic things that you would do if you are in a face-to-face interview. But the other thing that's really important is that when you're doing it from a remote location, they can't really see you that much. They can't really tell your body language as much as if you were there face to face. So make sure that your computer is performing to its optimal. Make sure that your lighting in the area that you're performing the interview from is good so that they can see you. Make sure that your space around you is professional looking. Make sure that it's not cluttered or dirty, or you've got a mess, laundry lying behind you, or some terrible pictures or something like that behind you. Make sure the space that you're conducting your interview from a remote location is professional looking. You appear professional onto the camera. Make sure your audio is working so that they can hear you. Speak slowly, speak and enunciate your words so that they can hear you properly, because all of that is missing from when you're face to face with them. So those are just some of the basic tips that I can offer.
Absolutely great. Phenomenal input to those who are looking for remote jobs, because you have to be seen by the interviewer, because that's the only way an interviewer could evaluate whether you will be able to deliver. And communication skills would really play a great role in an online interview, or a Zoom interview, for instance.
Mhm,
Um, and if you and a lot of Zoom users do not use Zoom, um, and they don't do not turn on the camera. This is what I want to say. So
mhm,
you're not so used to of using camera. Like, if you see me and on or Doreen at the moment, uh, because we do a lot of training and coaching using Zoom and um, other mediums, other platforms, where we actually show our face and we try to communicate and link up with people face to face, and eye contact level engagement also, we are very used to. But in most of the conferences, workshops, seminars that we conduct, most of the people just keep their cameras off. So you are not that used to of facing a camera, which means that your camera is up there and you're looking here or here, so you're not really connecting with the person who is interviewing. So that's great tip, Doreen. One more question is, basic steps to be taken into consideration before we can start applying for jobs in Canada. And I will actually chime in here. Uh, you have to have work authorization. That's the basic thing, which means you either have to be a permanent resident or a citizen or a work permit holder and based in Canada. I mean, you can apply from wherever you want to apply, but without work authorization, the chances will be very slim.
mhm.
That's
Also, the other thing I would like to add to that, Hamad, too, is that that's a really good question, because it's a very deep question and it's a very broad question. If you're outside of the country and if you're coming to Canada from another country, you really have to know and learn the Canadian way. And how are you going to do that if you're not here and you're not, or maybe you've even just landed and you've been here for a little while? How do you know how the Canadian way is? What do employers look for? What are the norms in the place? So the best way to do that is to ask questions. Contact friends or family members, people who are working in Canada. Just do a couple of information sessions and say, hey, you know what, I'm new to Canada, or I'm coming to Canada. What tips and advice can you offer me that would help me get closer to an opportunity? What do people look for? How should I speak? How should I dress? How should I conduct myself? What are some of the personal interaction kind of norms without being offensive to people? So always know the country that you're going to, and what they expect.
This is great, Doreen. You rightly said, you need to understand the local norms if you are a landed immigrant or coming soon. And a lot of us, we come from South Asia, and South Asian culture is very different to what Canadian culture is. So understanding that culture really is important, and that's where people like Doreen and myself play a key role. We work with not only with immigrants, of course, with locals here who have been who were basically born and brought up in Canada, and help them understand how they can crack those interviews, how resume can really help them, how LinkedIn profile or searchability of LinkedIn profile can help them land into a job. There are more questions coming in, although we are only 1 minute into session. We'll probably extend it for 5 minutes and try to uh, address few more questions. So there is a question from Fakir. Fakir is a very senior. professional. Actually, he's a director of sales for one of the finest global hotel chains, and he is asking, do we have to prepare the resume simply on MS Word, or we can use modern websites? Which one is recommended so that algorithm can shortlist the resume? I think he's more talking about the ATS resume. I would think, because otherwise, uh, I think that's what I can assume. So Doreen, your bit, and then I'll add a little bit into it.
So, you know what? You have to know the employer who's looking for that resume, what systems are they working off of? When they say apply and upload your resume, you have to make sure that whatever you're uploading meets the criteria of that system. So basic Word or MS Word is the most popular that everybody uses to do their resumes. Yes, there's other formats where people use, a photo and, maybe a Canva design. But for the most part, it's the employers ask for you to upload your resume onto their system, which would usually take an MS Word document. The form, like the template, is not really the most significant thing here. What's significant about it is that you're using the correct verbiage and the correct language and the correct keywords for what that employer is looking for. So that's what I would keep in mind when you're applying for a job.
Superb. And moreover, I'm part of uh, uh, an initiative based out of Vancouver called Immigrant Networks, and we had a long, interesting conversation yesterday with a recruiter, and he actually said that ATS is just a system to save resumes. At times it helps us recruiters identifying candidates, because if there are 500 applicants and we only need to talk to three people, we cannot it's just not humanly possible to deeply look at 500 resume. And that's where you initially said you have to be very specific and
Mhm,
very targeted and very strategic
mhm,
in your
mhm,
resume writing. And he said, this is a system which is available. Everybody uses it. Every ATS is different, but technically speaking, it is no rocket science. So if you know what you're writing, like I was helping yesterday one of my clients who is in project management and business analysis field. So I was consulting with him, and I actually said found few things which were not that relevant to that particular job he was applying for. So you have to be very targeted in that way. We have someone who is an Indian army trained gentleman. He is probably in Dubai, or in some in Gulf state. He has shared his phone number. Please don't share your phone numbers, because if you're a security guy, you should know that you should never share your phone numbers publicly on any chat. So I mean, you have to be very careful. Number one. Number two is that we are not offering any job. We are only helping you understand how important it is to work on your resume and understand or learn how interview skills can help you land into a job. So your resume helps you at the first stage, which is your interview call, and interview skills will help you land into a job. And you have to be skilled. You have to be skilled. That's very, very simple. Last question from our dear friend Shazad. Shazad, I'm trying to find your question. I spotted it. Um, all right. So this is a trick question. I would say. Okay, Shazad, this is a trick question. Is your LinkedIn profile more important than your resume? Um, Now, is your degree more important than your experience? Egg before or chicken before? Now, this is a very, very good question, by the way. Um, I would think it is, all these tools are available, and there has to be a combination of these tools, right? Your resume, what we call, is sort of a passive document, but extremely important document, because you will use your resume when you find an opportunity.
mhm,
Your LinkedIn is where recruiters are looking for people. and they're using LinkedIn Recruiter um, to search for candidates like you. So you cannot undermine the importance of one to another. Your
Right.
LinkedIn is as important as your resume.
Hmm.
Perhaps at times your resume is more important if you are like if you're applying for jobs and not kind of interested in recruiters looking for you. But in
Hmm.
that situation, you may be 499th applicant in the queue. If you're applying for job.
Right.
Doreen, your input to this excellent
You know,
question.
they're both different tools, but they're equally important. So, your LinkedIn profile is your visibility. It's your visibility to get connected to a network, whether it's a recruiter, a hiring manager, some peers, or friends that you know that may recommend you for a job. It's your summary of who you are. But your resume is targeted to a specific job. So if you're applying for a specific job, that job description becomes what you are applying toward. So your LinkedIn profile, yes, it's great for your visibility. It says who you are, what your strengths are, where you've worked, but your resume is specifically targeted to a job that you are applying for.
Absolutely. So, ideally have a generic resume, have a resume that covers everything that you really need to project, and based on your job that you're applying for, tailor that resume. And this is what Doreen's expertise are. This is where she can play a great role. If you're interested in talking to her, I've shared her website address. Go and look at the website and. You can book a consultation with her or engage her for some services. Last question, and I'm taking this question because this has come from YouTube. um, from Noman says, what are the main factors that hiring managers look for in a candidate before calling them for an interview? So this is the last question for today, but every Thursday same time, I will bring in Doreen or some other guests, mostly Doreen though, to speak about career development and how you can be successful in getting your calls, interview calls, and getting the jobs. So,
Mhm.
Doreen, what is your take on this question?
So, if I were to ask that question back to the gentleman who just posed the question, if you were a hiring manager, what would you look for in a person or a candidate who you want to work with? Think about that for a minute. And that's true for all hiring managers. Firstly, they want to know your skills. Definitely, yes, your skills must align, especially if it's a technical job. If it's IT related or, aircraft mechanic or anything that requires a specific technical skill that needs to be learned, yes, that has to stand out. But as a person who you want working on your team, you're going to look for whether that person is friendly, that person is interested, that person shows interest in working there, able to communicate, able to solve problems, able to mingle and coexist with the team and promote the organization as well and represent that organization to the most professional ability. Those are things that if I were employer, I would look for in a candidate.
So, I mean, how relevant you are to that job. So, just to take one step forward, Doreen, how relevant you are to that job, your skills and experience, how relevant that skills and experience is with that particular job opportunity, and can you prove that you're a solution provider? So,
Yes.
if you are a solution provider and you are smarter than the rest of solution providers, then the chances, and of course you're able to present that whole the smartness and the capabilities, the opportunities are phenomenal. I mean, we all are seeing a lot of jobs out there regardless of which country you are in. um, Often it is our own mistake that we are unable to tap into those opportunities because we are educated, we are skilled in doing our job, but we are not skilled in facing an interview. We're not skilled in networking and using LinkedIn as a networking tool. We are not skilled to write a resume the way we should write it. With that, thank you very much, Doreen. We are 9 minutes over our time, but this is great. Thank you everyone for joining in from all the channels that we have. We were broadcasting this interview or this coaching session to LinkedIn, as well as YouTube, as well as my Facebook page. We'll keep bringing in great speakers. Doreen, mostly, as I said, I've shared links to Doreen's website. So if you want to reach out to Doreen for getting your resume done, you're getting a great cover letter done, yeah, reach out to her. If you want to engage her in an interview coaching session, she is awesome. And if you want to learn how you can use LinkedIn for job search, networking, or freelancing, I've shared link to my course, as well as, so you can just enroll into the course. It's an online course which will help you uh, grow on LinkedIn and become more effective LinkedIn user. With that, thank you very much. All the best and have a wonderful rest of the week. See you next week um, on this channel. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.